Good morning. Welcome back to Eden's Corner. I'm really glad to see you today. Before we jump into Esther chapter 4, I thought it would be good to read two of the profiles on the two main people in the book of Esther, one being Esther and one her cousin Mordecai. So, my Bible also includes profiles on different people in the Bible throughout it. So, I just thought it would be good to read a little bit of a synopsis about each person. Okay, so we're going to start with Esther. And it says Esther was a Jew living among the exiles in Persia during the reign of King Ahasuerus. Following the death of her parents, Esther was raised by her cousin Mordecai. Esther was a beautiful woman, and she won favor in the eyes of all who saw her. When the reigning queen was removed from power, a beauty contest was held to choose her replacement, and Esther was chosen. As Queen of Persia, Esther risked her life to save the Jewish people from annihilation. She and Mordecai instituted the Feast of Purim to commemorate their deliverance. And so it gives a summary of each person, which is things that we'll learn as we continue reading through the end of Esther, because there's some stuff here that we haven't even read about through this chapter. But now the profile on Mordecai says Mordecai was a Jew living in exile in Persia. When Mordecai's cousin Esther became an orphan, he took her as his own child. Eventually, Esther became queen and Mordecai became a royal official. One day, while serving King Ahasuerus, Mordecai discovered and reported a plot to kill the king, thus saving the king's life. Later, when Mordecai refused to bow down to Haman, which we already read about that, Haman persuaded the king to call for the death of all Jews. Jews of Persia, with the help of Queen Esther, Mordecai saved the Jews of Persia from this death sentence. Haman was hanged on the gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. Can you imagine that? Preparing basically a death tool for someone else and then it is used for yourself. And Mordecai replaced Haman as second in command to the king. So we've got quite a bit that we're about to learn about. So if you're ready, go ahead and open your Bible to Esther chapter 4, and we'll go ahead and jump right in. And just a reminder, I am reading the ESV version, so sometimes it's easier to follow along with the same version. All right, Esther chapter 4. When Mordecai learned all that had been done, Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the midst of the city. And he cried out with a loud and bitter cry. He went up to the entrance of the king's gate, for no one was allowed to enter the king's gate clothed in sackcloth. Now, if you haven't listened to Esther chapter 3, which is yesterday's, Mordecai is behaving this way because he just learned of Haman's plot to kill all the Jews. So this is why he's behaving in this way. Picking up in verse 3, it says, "And in every province, wherever the king's command and his decree reached, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting and weeping and lamenting, and many of them lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's young women and her eunuchs came and told her, the queen was deeply distressed. She sent garments to clothe Mordecai so that he might take off his sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs, who had been appointed to her to attend to her, and ordered him to go to Mordecai to learn what this was and why it was. Hathach went out to Mordecai in the open square of the city in front of the king's gate, and Mordecai told him all that had happened to him, and the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay into the king's treasuries for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for their destruction, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her and command her to go to the king to beg his favor and plead with him on behalf of her people. And Hathach went and told Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and commanded him to go to Mordecai and say, All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law: to be put to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, so that he may live. But as for me, I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. And they told Mordecai what Esther had said. Then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, "Do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, "Go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa, and hold a fast on my behalf, and do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I and my young women will also fast as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." Mordecai then went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. So this chapter includes one of the most popular verses that we hear, being created for a time such as this. And it's true of all of us. We were born in the time period, in the state, the country um, that we are for a reason. We weren't born back here in the Bible days. We aren't born in the future. We are born right now. We are living right now for such a time as this. And that's spoken of all of us. And sometimes we need those encouraging, strong, and convicting words that tell us you need to speak, you need to stand up. And sometimes, even when we need to sit down and be quiet. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful to God that He has created you and me for this time. He's given us this opportunity with technology, with the way that we can reach people all over the world at any given time to share the gospel of Christ and to stand for other Christians and stand for things that we believe in. So I encourage you just to look at your life and look at what you believe in, and are you taking stands for those? Or are you hiding back in a corner? That's not what God created you to do. His word says that we are like a lamp on a table, right? And you don't put a shade or a blanket over that lamp to dampen it. We're meant to shine. We're meant to shine the light of God out to the world. So how can you do that today? Comment down below what you're thinking of doing. I'm thinking I might show love to someone today by talking to someone I don't know. I'm going to the grocery store later, so that'll be a perfect opportunity just to talk to them and see how they're doing and listen. So I challenge you to do the same. So until tomorrow, my name is Sarah. This is Eden's Corner, and I will see you for Esther chapter 5. Bye.